morning to you. I hope you're very well. Delighted to welcome those of you tuned in this morning. Thanks for joining. I'm Rob McGee. I'm the CEO at Ingenio, and we're thrilled to be marking and celebrating International Women's Day today, the 8th of March. This week, I'm going to be talking with 8 female leaders from right across the tech, SaaS and software industry. And this morning, I am delighted to be joined by one of our clients, actually, Ciara Flood. Ciara is co-founder at Untitled. And Ciara, thanks a million for joining us. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here chatting to you on this really important day.
Very, very special day. My daughter's birthday as well. My eldest daughter's birthday as well. So definitely not one that we forget about. How's everything your side? All good?
Good. Yeah, we're busy at the moment, but it's it's great. We're doing a fundraising at the moment, so it's pretty intense. Learning a lot, and building a team, hiring. That's where you come in. Good.
Great. Ciara, for people on here this morning and tuning in, who don't know Ciara Flood or don't know Untitled, can you give us a little bit of a background in terms of, I guess, you and the business?
Yes, of course. My name's Ciara. I'm co-founder of Untitled. My fellow co-founders are Jonathan Legg, who is also my husband, and Mark Legg, my brother-in-law. So it's a family affair. Untitled is a startup. We have 30 people across Dublin and the US. We focus on gifting, enterprise gifting at scale. So we provide a solution for corporates to gift their full database, so from their employees to their customers to everyone in between.
Fantastic. And obviously I know you guys because we've been working together for the last 12 months. Just in terms of the business, how long have you guys been doing the magic stuff that you've been doing?
Yeah, so officially for 4 years now. So February 2017, we incorporated. So it's been an amazing journey. Incredible to be part of building something. It's what I've always wanted to do. So it's really great, and we're bootstrapped to date, so which has also been really interesting. And we're kind of just getting ready for serious growth this year. So
fantastic. Fantastic. Having I guess the business and the relationships that you guys have, and clearly you're bringing different things. What does Ciara Flood specialize in your business? And clearly there's lots of things.
Question. Right? That's a good question. So my background is e-commerce. It's where I started my career. My very first job was at Net-a-Porter, which is an online luxury fashion retailer. And so I suppose, and my skill within that was buying, so negotiating with suppliers and stock and picking the right things. But I think, what I bring to the business at the moment is probably cross-functional. A lot of my past experiences in how to kind of communicate with other teams and pull information from other teams and get people working together. So I think that's what I bring to the business. And I'm very much a doer. Jonathan is the thinker and, has the huge vision, which is incredible. But I'm like, what can we get done today is probably my part of the puzzle.
Fantastic. So the series that we're running this week, Ciara, as you know, we're speaking to people from all backgrounds, right? And you've mentioned e-commerce and buying, and we're talking to people who come from an engineering background and a marketing leadership background. And obviously what I'm trying to get out of this week for people, we're trying to help people this week in terms of trying to get an element of almost consistency around kind of trends and traits and that type of stuff. So there's a couple of questions that I sent you to kind of be able to kind of prepare against, you know. But I think the first one's a really interesting one, which is, what are you most proud about career to date? And I guess that's probably potentially quite a big list of things.
Oh, well, thank you. No, I'm pretty, I think I hope I have a lot more to be proud of. And I'm just starting, I feel like. To be honest with you, I think I would go right back and saying getting my first job in a company I really wanted to work in. So when I was in university 16 years ago now, which seems crazy, I really recognized in me the need to work at a company where I really kind of bought into it, which is not a new concept now, but at the time, I don't think many people were thinking like that in terms of where they would work. And that was really important to me, that I was enthusiastic about the business I was working in. So I identified Net-a-Porter when I was still studying. And I kind of used to rush home from college on a Wednesday and dial up the internet to upload their new product upload or their new editorial. And I really bought into it. And I made several steps to ensure I got a job there. So it was all fantastic. Really deliberate. I moved to London. I did a master's in the London College of Fashion. I interned at various fashion PR companies while I was doing my master's, until I ultimately got an internship at Net-a-Porter. When I was at Net-a-Porter, I did a thesis on Net-a-Porter. So delivering luxury delivering luxury through service innovation was the title of the thesis, which allowed me exposure to senior people in Net-a-Porter, which ultimately led to my job. So I think, you know, identifying where I wanted to work and really kind of, you know, making the steps to make that happen is something that I'm proud of. Yeah.
How, as a matter of interest, from the time that you kind of identified Net-a-Porter to the time that you got your first full-time job, what kind of period of time are you talking about there?
So it was probably 2 years. So I had to finish my undergraduate degree, move to London, start a master's, write a thesis. So there's a lot to do in that 2 years. But and that ultimately I did 5 years there, and it was a really good, it set me up really well for everything I know today. So it was a good use of my energy, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When I think about, I mean, that is, we talk a lot with candidates and indeed clients. We talk a lot about researching organizations and then making job applications with intent and intelligence.
Yes. Yeah.
And you were at that for almost, I guess, it was 2 years from the time that you kind of identified. Like that's an incredibly there's an incredible commitment there.
Yes.
On your side.
Yes. Loyal to a fault. Yeah. No. No. I think when I want something to happen, I'll find a way of making it happen.
Really interesting.
Probably,
really interesting.
No matter how long it takes.
Good. Look, I think that's what a lesson for people to learn. Particularly when sometimes maybe kind of focus and attention these days isn't necessarily what it has been in the past, and particularly when some people kind of view careers as being very short. I think taking that kind of approach is huge, right?
I think it's I mean, it's not for everyone, but that's kind of my story.
Of course. Love it. Tell me, when you look back on all of the things, and I love what you said there, that you're a long way from being done yet, and I love that. But if you were advising, a younger Ciara Flood, and you were looking back on all the things that you have learned, like what's that one bit of advice that you would give to someone who's literally just starting out, who's just left college or
Yeah.
university and is embarking on the career?
I think well, certainly it was the case with me. I think being maybe a little bit more confident, would have been helpful. I think I had a huge kind of imposter syndrome for a lot of my career. I still have that. But yeah, no, feeling, having the confidence, and knowing that you have a place and it's worth something. I think, and I think it's maybe an Irish thing. And I think it might be an Irish girl thing as well, to undervalue yourself and to kind of make other people feel comfortable, I suppose, and also to seem unthreatening, and I think that, and it's working in international environments. I mean, network, most of the places I've worked have been quite international. I got the sense that not everyone was coming from that place, not everyone was full of this humility, which is, and that's a really nice thing to be, but I think, sometimes it can hinder you. And I think, that goes, I think, right back to our secondary school and primary school system in Ireland, particularly for girls. Jonathan and I often joke that in his secondary school, they were always told that they would be the leaders of the country. They would all be the CEOs. So these 200 boys were constantly, labeled these, amazing, futures. And I think it was the exact opposite, in my educational experience. And I didn't go to a bad school. It was just the time, and it was just, and I hope that's different now, but I'm not sure it is everywhere. And I think it's really important that we give girls more confidence, to prepare them for working in international environments, not feeling all of this sort of humbleness, which I think is too much sometimes.
Tell me, it's just such a fascinating insight. Like, was there a point that you arrived at a level of confidence, that I guess maybe you didn't have? Like, does it ever feel like that there was a point where the wave broke and you were like, oh, I'm here?
No, that hasn't, I think, I'm always trying to convince myself that it's, that I am co-founder of a business that has 30 people behind it, that we're raising, a couple of million, and I think, but that's, and I think that's relatively normal. I don't think everyone would admit that, but but definitely as you gain experience, of course you gain confidence, because there's nothing like experience to give you confidence. So it's easier to be confident when you're 16 years down in your career. It's very hard when you've never had any working experience before.
I suppose having a level of confidence without the experience drives potentially a little bit of an inflated view of oneself, so I suppose it's about getting the balance right,
totally. And I think self-awareness is really important, but I think if you can have a bit of confidence, I think it really helps you, particularly on an international stage.
Interesting. Love it. The next question, I love asking this, and I guess the more vague I ask it, almost the better the answers are. But what's the one, or what's the best or the most worthwhile investment you've ever made? And look, that could be anything. It could be money, time, energy.
I've struggled with this question, and I think what I kind of came to was it's not so much an investment as a spend that I allocate,
Okay.
and it's for Jonathan and I have a 2-year-old. She's nearly two next month. But she came into our lives and it was amazing, but it was also super scary in terms of how are we going to manage the business and also, take care of this wonderful little girl.
Yeah.
So I prioritized kind of spending money on childcare, and we have a full-time amazing lady called Mitch who comes to the house every morning at 8 a.m. and leaves at 5. And I think I'm really like open about how important that is in our lives.
Yeah.
We need that to enable us to have time to think about the business and also have the space to grow and open. And I think there isn't enough child care support in Ireland for working women. It's not affordable enough. We were in Sweden last year, and one of our clients was telling us in Sweden, all childcare is the same price. It's all the same standard. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, you just pay X, and it's super affordable, heavily subsidized. And I think it's a real barrier for women leading businesses and working generally. How can they have really reliable childcare that they're really happy with? And I think that was something that we didn't want to, compromise on, obviously. But yeah.
Of course. And like, has that, I guess the decision that you made there, Ciara, and I mean, look, not even lots of moms out there, but lots of parents go through that exact same piece. But when you look back on that now, and I guess you were very deliberate intent in terms of doing it, like, has it given you guys the freedom and I guess the clarity of mind and space and time and all the rest of it to be able to do the things that you intended it to do?
I think the alternative was, her going to a crash when I felt maybe that she was too young to be in a crash, and I went and looked at those places, and they're great, like, but it just didn't feel right for me. And I think the childcare I chose, though more expensive, has given me the comfort to be able to fully focus on things I need to focus on when I'm not with my beautiful daughter. And I think, and when I'm with her, I then don't need to focus on work. So it allows me to kind of separate things, which I think is helpful.
Of course. Yeah, of course. This next one might be kind of a little connected to that, or maybe it's not. But I guess what I'm always really interested in, in seeing if there's something that you've bought or purchased recently that has really positively impacted your life.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
What I've purchased.
Any new tools or gadgets in the Leg Flood household?
Leg Flood household. We did buy when lockdown started. We bought an amazing coffee machine, which has actually changed our lives. I'd advise anyone to go out and get the Sage coffee machine.
Plug.
Yes. So I was addicted. When we were working in our office in Harold's Cross, there's a good little cafe in the park there, and I'd spend a lot of money and a lot of time fetching coffees. So it's really nice to be able to kind of make that at home. So yes, a good coffee machine is
there you go. Love it. I'm sure the amount of people who would say exactly the same, not having been able to get there. A good fix. But listen, on the flip side of things, I bet you're really looking forward to going back and buying coffee from that guy or girl in the park at Harold's Cross, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I've really liked working from home because it's taken out the travel time, which I always just felt was such a waste of time, particularly now we have, a little girl. I'm saving 45 minutes either side of my day. So though I can't wait to be back with the team, and being really specific about when I go into the office, I think it's really nice that we've found new ways of communicating, that this has become standard, like Zoom and Open have been obviously talking like this with our clients for years because most of them are in San Francisco, but I love how it's infiltrated every workplace, and I think it's really powerful. We should use technology to make our lives easier.
Yeah, here, couldn't agree with you more. Last question for you, Ciara. Nearly done. Nearly done.
Quite the grilling on a Monday morning.
Oh God, it's not probably half as tough as some of the other calls you're going to have today.
That's true.
The audience, audience today, watching today, probably the common trend, and certainly if you think about, I guess, where Ingenio helps people, we've got lots of people who are really, really keen to either get into or get themselves that career in tech and software, or we've got lots of people who very sadly are in those industries that have been really badly affected by the pandemic and are looking to kind of pivot or switch or change. To you, Ciara, with everything that you've seen and that and that you've experienced, what's the one tip that you would give to girls out there, to women out there who want to get hired in tech?
I think the advice I'd give is probably, it's not gender specific necessarily, but it's to identify the companies that are interesting and that that are growing, and how you do that, I think, is you have to read an awful lot and be super curious. So I think that's really important. Like, there's nothing like reading newspapers to find out information, particularly international newspapers. Read the Financial Times. I think that's one thing that you can do. The second thing I think you should do is you should look on Crunchbase and see who's raising money. And become really knowledgeable about that, because fundamentally, if a company's raising around, they're then going to be hiring like crazy straight afterwards. So I think that's really important. And then once you identify those companies, I think it's about figuring out where you fit in that, and maybe you don't fit right now, but what can you do to upskill, or what can you put on your CV that will allow you to get in there. And I think that's how I would approach it if I was looking to get into tech now.
Brilliant advice. So Crunchbase is a great one. Not a huge amount of people know. It's not the well-known tool that it should be, and I couldn't agree with you more on that. I think listening to you talk there, it's around getting people really tuned into the drivers or the accelerators for companies trying to grow and hire, and as you say, finding their place, figuring out what their place is.
Yeah, totally. And I think there's also an appetite now for hiring remotely. So there's big companies, like one, I think they're valued now at like $500 million or something, Hopin. It's a virtual events company. They're hiring remotely. And I think that's really that's great for people in Ireland and Dublin, and I think people need to identify those companies and hop on board.
I love it. Ciara, thanks a million for for being so honest and I guess giving people a real insight into you and how you how you think and how you guys have operated. And look, I think there are tons of people here today who will get so much from that. And look, on behalf of everyone who's tuned in, I just wanted to say a massive thanks. It's great. It's just great to have. It's just great to provide this opportunity for people to to be able to help themselves. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you so much. It was good fun.
Thanks, Ciara. Yeah, exactly. Guys, thanks a million. For those of you who are tuned in, and I hope you've taken benefit, and I hope you've listened intently to what Ciara's said there, particularly around some of the tips and advice. We are providing, exactly, we're providing some details as a follow-on, and we'll put it up in the chat. Anyone who's tuned in today that wants help around trying to get hired by tech organizations, and indeed wants some assistance in terms of, I guess, their profile, their CV, their persona. We'll put some details up there. But look, on behalf of all the team, Ciara Flood, to you and to the team at And Open, thanks a million. We really appreciate your time.
Perfect. Thanks a million, Rob.
Take care.
Bye,
See you.
Bye.
Bye bye.